Hi, I'm Charles. I own and direct Kaleidoscope Rock Academy and Kaleidoscope School of Music here in the Seattle area. And I've been doing a series of videos about what I think are musical myths. A musical myth is a generalization typically that has some truth to it or some kernel of truth to it, but is definitely overstated. And this particular myth is you can't get good jazz guitar tone out of a solid body electric. So we're going to try to show why that's a myth here. That myth is often stated in different ways, so it could be like you can't get great jazz guitar tone out of a solid body, but it also might be you can't get great guitar tone out of a certain amp, or you can't get a great jazz guitar tone without buying a blank insert name of instrument here. That might be like a semi-hollow body or an L5 or whatever. And this is kind of part of a general like musical snobbery that I've experienced over decades of being a musician. And the funny thing is that snobbery kind of changes form with trends. It goes from like, oh, everyone should be playing through a Gretsch to everyone should be buying an OCD pedal to everyone should be, insert whatever here. People are certainly entitled to have their instruments that are their favorites, but I think the most important thing to remember is that tone, or what you're trying to achieve, starts in your mind or your ear, as people put it. And if you have a good concept of the tone you're going for and some good ability to work with different instruments and effects and amps, you could get that tone out of a much wider variety of things than the snobs would, I'll call them the snobs, would say you can. So my journey with this started in college, Whitworth University, where I had a solid body electric that looked also very rock and roll. It was a Washburn A10, kind of an 80s looking thing, and the director really wanted me to get something more jazzy. I don't know if that was because that guitar looked so obnoxious or because of how it sounded, but I bought a Gibson ES330 semi-hollow body to try to remedy that situation. But I've been in lots of gigs over the years, including one of my main gigs, which was playing for a Christian pianist named Dave Irish, where we would do everything from like jazzy mellow stuff to rock and blues stuff. And my guitar of choice through a lot of that was a Tom Anderson solid body Grand Am. And the amp of choice was like a Maze Boogie. So a lot of people were surprised when I bring that to gigs that I could get the jazz coming out of it that I could. Again, it starts with your ears and it starts with your know-how. It doesn't start with necessarily with what you buy. So I'm going to try to dispel that myth by showing you what I do with various solid body guitars here. I've got a bunch of guitars. I'm going to walk over and grab one at a time. The amp in question here is a Spark Positive Grid. It's a tiny digital modeling amp, not a classic or vintage type amp at all, not what you typically bring to a gig. Its native sound with this Godin solid body xtSA is. So that's what I'm getting out of it right now. I got kind of a nice reverb on it. So the first kind of trick is use your tone knobs if you have them on your guitar. Tone knobs, I think, are not of much use to rock and roll. They typically sound best when they're all the way up. But for jazz, there's kind of a cool little trick to it. If you roll the tone knob back, it kind of muffles down the sound of your guitar. So all the way down, it sounds like this, which is almost too dark, right? But if I flip this guitar into the neck pickup, that's also most of the time what you use for jazz. With the tone knob back up, it sounds like this. More bluesy, right? But if I start rolling the tone knob back a little bit, it starts sounding more jazzy. So that's something I usually do on guitars, solid body guitars. The other kind of cool trick is Pat McKinney trick. Don't pick with the point of the pick, point with the rounded edge. Not a huge difference, but it's another component. One of my students recently turned me on to these kind of groovy little picks, which are, show you what this looks like here. They're very thick, very smooth, and they're kind of like rounded. So they kind of it really even just the point on this is kind of like the Pat McKinney trick of flipping it over. Like every part of it's pretty smooth. So I've got this on the neck pickup. I'm rolling that tone knob back a little bit. I didn't change anything on the amp. bit more. It's a very mellow, nice sound. It does not sound twangy. But let's try out a couple more guitars. So just to be kind of funny, I think I'm gonna grab a 7-string. Hang on. So this is a Jackson, Chinese-made Jackson. It has one Tom Anderson pickup. It's really nice in the bridge, but the stock pickup's in the neck. Not very expensive guitar. They listed under 300. Not sure how this is going to go, but we're going to plug this one in and see what we get out of it. Same amp setting. So that's what it sounds like natively. Flip it up into the neck pickup. I'm going to roll the tone knob back. This guitar is a little harder to keep in tune. Still using this very rounded pick. I'm trying to remember what these are called because unfortunately, you know, the label's rubbing off. And I didn't buy them. So, oh wait, this one says it's a 204 USA. Don't know what that means. Okay. I have the tiny one and I've got the more kick-sized one. If I roll the tone knob all the way down, that starts sounding kind of weird. But not what you think of when you see a 7-string Jackson that looks like this. I'm going to grab something with a single coil in the neck. Hang on. So if I put it in the neck pickup now, I had the tone knob all the way down. That's all the way up. Got some weird noise things happening with this one right now. So if I turn this knob down a little bit, don't love the stock pickups in this guitar. I usually use the humbucker for rock covers and stuff. But that rolling the tone knob down did kill a lot of the noise. Not a bad little like. So that's what I could get out of a single coil with that one. I still like the double coils better, but so let's grab we're gonna do 2 more. So I'm gonna grab an Ultra A6 Godin, which is an acoustic that has an electric output, and kind of play around with that for a second. Hang on. So this guitar is kind of a weird hybrid because it has 2 outputs, splitting it between 2 different amps, one acoustic, one electric, or if you use one of the outputs, it'll send both to the same amp. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then you've got a system of sliders here for the acoustics, and then up here controls for the one magnetic pickup. So this is like an electric pickup. So let's plug this in. Sounds a little weird in this amp because it's not an acoustic amp. What's interesting about this kind of approach, this is a very playable guitar. It does have acoustic gauge strings on it, but they're electric strings by nature. Just in a kind of more typical acoustic gauge, and it does give you a little bit more of that like big box semi-hollow body jazz sound. I can play around with the EQ, 3-band EQ. I kind of kicked up the mid-range. So that's like mid-range and bass all the way up. It's very different than the solid body electric stuff. Now, if you turn the acoustic slider all the way down here and you turn up the electric slider, you have access to the like electric sound, which is over here. that's treble and bass sliders both all the way up. They're knobs in this case. Not liking it as much as what I can get out of, say, the first guitar I played. But there's also a little bit of difficulty of like doing all that phrasing on lighter strings and then picking up this. You'd be like, oh god, the strings are heavy. Whine, whine, whine. I just kind of feel like this one sounds a little bit more like an imposter, like an acoustic guitar trying really hard to be something else. But let's do one more. This is actually, so the last one I'm going to show you is the guitar I actually would tend to take to a gig where I was going to be doing mostly like a mellow or jazz repertoire, and that's my Gretsch Tennessee Rose, so I'll throw that one at you. This guitar doesn't have an EQ knob like a dial. It has like an EQ filter, so you have a pickup selector, and then you have like this weird EQ filter thing. So if I'm on like the brightest pickup, it's very thin. It's also very out of tune, so let's fix that up here. So that's about the thinnest this guitar gets with this in the middle position. It gets a little bit darker if you move it out to the outside. But I typically would run it in the neck pickup. If I put it in the upper position, it's even a little bit darker. So that's, again, that's not a knob, it's just a toggle switch. If I put it back in the middle, it goes back to being very much like a rockabilly type guitar. So I would say these other positions are better, you know. So I'm still using the Pat Metheny trick of playing with a rounded edge pick. I'm using this fatter, smoother pick. One thing I'm noticing in making this video is that using these various EQ tricks with different types of guitars seems to really affect like the oomphiness, like the gain or the volume through this particular amp. So I feel like if I was going to dial in one of these all the way for a gig for jazz, I'd want to really work with that gain volume issue and try to figure out exactly where I want it. Because some guitars it sounds great, and some guitars I just feel like I'm missing some oomph. So what's your opinion? Did we dispel the myth that you can only get at least half decent jazz tone out of X type of guitar? I hope we did. My idea is that, you know, if you were going to be a jazz recording artist, you would pick whatever guitar gave you the most authentic expression of what you're doing that you can find. But if you're kind of trying to be a gigging musician who has to do a lot of different types of things, I don't think you have to believe the myth that you got a cart around a semi-hollow body just to have authentic jazz sound on certain songs. So that's my opinion. I guess I could have summed this entire video up by just saying Mike Stern. Guy plays the Telecaster, not what you think would be the most jazzy of things, and that was his go-to instrument on the albums I was listening to him the most on in the late 80s. So there you go, Mike Stern, or the prior 15 minutes of what I said. I'll see you guys for the next myth or gear video, and thanks for watching the channel.